Back on the Jumbo Set podcast, presented as always by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. It is Tuesday night, August 26th. We're doing it live, releasing
I
this.
pressed the wrong button. I didn't do our Jumbo Set intro. I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that's all right. That's fine. Are we getting any comments on that?
Just from me.
Okay. Well, listen, that's fine. We're getting back into the swing of things here. It's been a couple months, or maybe not a couple months. I think we hopped in here to break down the Jair Alexander signing. So it's been a good summer on my end. I know it's been on your end as well, but I think we're back. Me and my guy Spencer, Nathaniel Schultz, Spenny Football, that is, ready to talk some Ravens. How are we doing, partner?
Doing very well. Summer has been refreshing. I stayed out of the weeds of preseason for the most part. I watched the games. I think you and I have gone into battle the last couple of winters deep into the playoffs, and it was nice to tune out a little bit from the draft and free agency and refresh, rehash, golf, get some sun, all of that good stuff. But fresh cut grass is in the air. The heat has broken into that August heat, that daze that you get once July kind of breaks. You can almost smell the paint on the field, even when you're just hanging out. It's time. The Ravens announced their 53-man roster. The preseason is over. Camp obviously broke. Hard Knocks has already had 3 episodes. Fantasy drafts, I'm sure everybody's underway. You've got a league or two. You're already diving in, trying to find your sneaky value, all that good stuff. So I'm refreshed. I'm ready. I'm excited. And overall, just to be as corny as possible, I don't know, about a week ago, just really nice to get to watch Lamar Jackson over these last few years. And just from an entertainment perspective as a fan, there's just never been, I would say in at least my life in Baltimore sports, there's never been a more entertaining athlete to watch than Lamar Jackson. Maybe you could say Michael Phelps. Maybe. That was pretty entertaining, what he did as a youth and then a man from Australia and forward. But Lamar Jackson, it's fun to watch, man. That's what I'm ready for. I'm ready to watch Lamar Jackson play football. I'm ready to watch the Baltimore Ravens play football. I'm ready to have some fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was kind of thinking about it myself a little bit. It's almost, I don't know, maybe this is a little defeatist, but it almost kind of feels post expectations for me, where it just felt like year after year after year, pretty much ever since 2019, when they kind of blew the roof off of their expectations. And then that roof, came crashing back down to earth and buried them into the earth's core. And since it's just felt like an albatross around their neck every year. And they haven't been able to get over the hump. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of just, I really don't feel any of that this year. And maybe that's just a function of the fact that I feel like this roster is very good. And we'll get into predictions on a later episode. We're going to do our annual kind of predicting how the entire season is going to pan out thing. Spoiler alert, I think I'm going to have the Ravens going pretty far. This feels like a very good roster. But at the same time, it almost feels like, hey, is it time for them to finally take that mantle of post-hype sleeper, where everyone's thinking about, the big news in Kansas City today? Obviously, everyone's going to be picking them to go back to the Super Bowl. I think rightfully so. That would be good.
What happened in Kansas City today?
Oh, we don't have to get into it. People will be picking the Bills to finally get over the hump, similar to the Ravens. People are going to have the Bengals back into the mix, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, and we saw it last year with the voter fatigue with MVP with Lamar. It's like, man, are people just kind of over them as a concept at this point because they haven't gone and gotten it done? And listening to some podcasts and some national media, I definitely get that sense. But for me, I kind of just like that position. I don't think they'll ever be looked at as underdogs necessarily, especially with as good as this roster is. But if they're just kind of looked past and allowed to operate in the quiet of the night and sort of do their thing the way that they're best at doing it, I have a feeling that this could be a very good season. So I'm excited.
Very excited. And you have to say, I feel like this is the most stacked roster overall. We're going to get to the roster breakdown, but just on paper, the most stacked roster I think the Ravens have had since 2011, I'd say, heading into the season, when you just think about like the combination of experience, youth, and depth with pure talent. And again, having the MVP quarterback, the 2-time winner, just raises that and can make an argument into of itself. With that in mind, I guess we can dive into this roster a little bit here. I believe we have a graphic to throw up for our visual viewers if you're watching this later here. Great. There we go. Awesome. So you're taking a look at the Ravens 53-man roster. You see 2 quarterbacks kept. You see 5 running backs, including Pat Ricard, who is effectively a tight end. You see the Ravens keep 6 wide receivers. No surprises there. Tight ends. The big news, doesn't look like Isaiah likely is going to start out on the physically unable to perform list. So that means at least probably expected to play prior to week 4. The Ravens keep 9 offensive linemen. The big story there, which we'll get to, Corey Bullock, who's been playing some center, former UDFA, makes the cut there. 9 offensive linemen, 25 offensive players. The Ravens keep 5 defensive linemen, including John Jenkins and Aeneas Peebles, of course, a later round pick.
Bob.
Oh, yeah. Pub Feebles there, baby. Linebackers, they have grouped in the outside linebackers, which includes Adafe Owe, Tavius Jarrett Johnson Robinson, David Bo, Kyle Van Noy, Mike Green, and then a pretty interesting group, Jake, that we can get into a little bit. We certainly will, but inside linebackers, Roquan Smith, of course, Trenton Simpson, Jake Hummel, the special teams signee, kind of effectively signed to replace Chris Board, rookie Teddy Buchanan, Mike Green. I don't know if I named him with the outside linebackers, but then Jay Higgins, UDFA. I'll say number 2. I'll count Corey Bullock making this roster as a UDFA, really, in my head. Defensive backs, I think you have another 9 total, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 10. Nate Wiggins, Shadobi Awuzie, Kyle Hamilton. Sanusi Kane makes this roster, who was a late-round pick last year, who suffered an injury after an absolute hammer of a hit that drew a penalty. Malachi Starks, Jair Alexander. Then after Marlon Humphrey, 2 UDFAs, 2 in the same effective room. One's a slot corner, one's a safety who plays in the slot too. Keon Martin out of University of Louisiana Lafayette, and Ruben Lowry, who has a degree in mechanical engineering out of the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And then, of course, number 11, 33, and 46 in your hearts, and number 51, 52, and 53 for me. Jordan Stout, Tyler Loop, and Nick Moore round out this group. Jakey boy, what do you think about when you think about this roster and what we're seeing?
Yeah, no, it's definitely some interesting ones there. I think I don't know if it continues to streak, but I saw that it was 22 or 21 out of 22 of the last teams that have carried an undrafted free agent. They do it with 4 of these guys, which is pretty crazy. Or 4 in total, I guess you could say. Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of curious to see them move on from Jalen Armour Davis. We'll see if he can make his way back to the practice squad. Felt like he had a really good summer, and he showed up pretty well in the games too. I'm not exactly sure what was going on there, especially keeping some of these younger name guys. And you look at the injuries to Longerbeam and Kone in the preseason as well. I thought that was kind of curious. You see Ojabo kind of sneaking there into the linebacker room. I'm fine with hanging on to him for a little while longer. Felt like, I don't know, I just felt like he's another guy that we didn't really hear a ton from, but I guess he wanted to round out that linebacker room, so that was fine. Overall, I feel like the entire conversation around this team, not a whole lot of it has been around the back-end churn of the roster like you sometimes see with the Ravens. I feel like things were kind of like, we'll see what happens when we get there. This team has bigger things going on, so you see a guy like Bo Brady not make it, that stinks, but it just sort of is what it is. He's been on the fringes of the roster. And, obviously some other younger guys that you could get into as well. But as I was saying there, it just has felt like the overall conversation has really just been like the offensive line, which I feel like was a topic of conversation this time last year. I remember this time last year being very concerned, and some of my concerns actually being, playing out within the first couple of weeks of the season, but then they went and figured it out. And obviously all the angst about Daniel Falele, which frankly, I'm pretty glad we were not really going too hard with recording during the preseason, because that's just not a conversation I was super interested in. Falele versus Cleveland, both of whom are going to be on the roster. It sounds like Falele is going to be the starter. We're going to see what happens. John it seems very committed to making that work. So it seems like that's just going to be what happens in the meantime, and Cleveland will be there if they need him. Emory Jones going to be working his way back from an injury, so you'd hope that maybe he could work his way into that mix somehow. But like we said, he's not going to be in the mix right out of the gate. And overall, like I said, it just strikes me as a settled roster that's been settled for a couple of years, that will be entering its 3rd year with an offensive coordinator that has a very much a vested veteran quarterback right now. This isn't really their time of year to get too in the weeds. So yeah, overall, it just like it kind of came and went more than like during, I would say, like some of the more middling Flacco years when it's like, man, a couple extra guys here could like make the difference between like 10 or 11 wins or like 9 and 10 wins. Feels like the sights are aimed a little higher right now.
Well said, my friend. You gave a nice summary overall of those fringe guys and some different things. I'll say what's on the ticker on the bottom. We're live right now on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Probably be live on Facebook again soon. I don't know.
Remember the IG live days during COVID, like the rap battles and all that stuff? We should like try to bring that back.
We will. We'll get back. We got IG fired up. Again, the easiest way you can support Exit 52 is to simply like and subscribe. We would love to have you on YouTube. Prefer you to watch there. That pays us the most by far, so that we can do cool things, have fun things, and, get some beer money here and there, maybe. So appreciate you guys in that regard. Pot Kettle Teapot commented on YouTube here. The UDFA scouts deserve a toast. And I would agree with that. It's really cool. And again, I'm going to group Bullock in with that and make it 4, like I said. But the Jay Higgins, Ruben Lowry, and Keon Martin.
What year was Bullock?
I think last year. I think he was a UDFA last year who was on P Squad, if I'm not mistaken. Double check that for me.
I was a little, I'll look that up because I was a little concerned with confused with like the 4 as well. Should I consider him that? He's technically not, but let's see.
Yeah, something like that. I'm lumping him in there. He was excited to make it, but brings me back to, I tweeted it earlier, an Adam Schefter tweet from September the 5th, 2016. Shefty tweeted, "Hope for underdogs. There are more undrafted free agents on NFL rosters today, 481, than first and second round picks combined, 480. And I think this is every year. And Jake, you mentioned the streak the Ravens had for a long time. One year they broke it, but it's still, it goes to show how proud the Ravens are in their scouts, in their coaches, in the effort of the men that they bring in. And that they want to put a UDFA on the roster to send a message. I think at first it just was happenstance, but I think through Harbaugh and then it gets rolling, I think that it's really
meritocracy. I think they want meritocracy.
Certainly, it is the definition of play like a Raven, all that good stuff that they love to have as a staple and a true mantra over the years. And when you watch Jay Higgins, when you watch Ruben Lowry, when you watch Keon Martin, it was 3 guys who abided by what I would say is a Harbaugh family ism, in their own words, life short run to the football. It was 3 guys that ran to the fucking football like their life depended on it. And guess what? Their life did depend on it. I mean, you've got a guy who was a rookie minicamp invite, tryout, and makes the 53. I mean, that is as good as it gets. I think Bo Smolka from Press Box said that's the equivalent of a long shot horse being 10 lengths back and then winning the race. Like, the Ravens DB room is stocked. They cut Jalen Armour-Davis basically for him. Jalen Armour-Davis was a pedigree corner at Alabama who played well, has had some injury issues, but has looked good. And I'm sure we'll find a team. As a guy who ran 4.3, like, hasn't been awful, has found his way into games. Like, it's not like he was some slapdick that, was like, oh, Jalen Armour-Davis. Like, he looked good this preseason too. So goes to show what they're about. And UDFA's overall, like, I do think, and Jake, you brought up the point about Faalele and the narrative around him, and we can get into a little bit of that in a minute or two, but like, these guys are going to make their money on special teams, and it's awesome for them. It's incredible for them. You hear Zach Orr talk about Higgins, the inside linebacker out of Iowa. Reminds me of Orr coming out of North Texas. Like, it wasn't like Zach Orr was just some freaking junior college, D3 Colorado College for the Mines, whatever the hell it's called. Zach Orr was like a 4-year starter at North Texas. He was an all-conference player. He didn't run a fast 40, and linebackers don't get drafted a ton. Usually only have 2 on the field. So, didn't get drafted, and then looked the part, did the things as a linebacker that he made a point about Jay Higgins, which really resonated with me, that so many kids get moved. It's these crazy athletes, and they go to a Power 5 school and they play safety and they play outside linebacker and a little bit of linebacker and slot. And then they play like wide receiver, running back on offense. And they're just these dominant football players. And then eventually, like their freshman or sophomore year, they start playing linebacker, and it's like a run and chase role where they're kind of see ball, get ball, not very cerebral at first as they're trying to develop. And by the time they get like Patrick Queen was a 4-star running back who ended up playing linebacker, started 13 games, and we watched him struggle early in his career, and he had to develop out into being a good player, Pro Bowl player, getting a decent contract, all of those things. Jay Higgins is not that. Jay Higgins has played linebacker his entire life. He understands concepts as a hook to curl defender in the pass game, and he's used to sifting and hand fighting through bigger guys and making plays against the run. Like, not that he looks like, oh my God, he's just like Roquan Smith, but it looks like Roquan Smith working downhill, avoiding the hands, keeping his chest clean, and stuffing a run. Gets to the football. Ruben Lowry had so many good plays, running and chasing down screens, beating his blocker, getting through a slot receiver, all those things. Those 3 guys that got to the football. And where are these guys going to play? Especially at first, if they suit up, if they're active on game day, they're going to play on special teams. The Ravens special teams was bad last year. It was the worst that it's been. Harbaugh talked about it in the year. He's like, somebody asked in the press, was like, Coach, you're really sending a lot of balls out of the end zone. Why, is there any strategy there? He said, to be honest, we have a lot of young guys on special teams and we don't quite trust them yet. So now in the preseason, what we've seen this preseason, I think arguably the biggest takeaway from this preseason was that the Ravens were having Tyler Louque work on these little sliding low kicks that were stopping at the 10-yard line, the 5-yard line, making the returner have to run, squat, pick up the ball, and then trying to pin the other team on the 20 instead of the touchback. So that's where those guys will make their hay. Congratulations to those guys. It's incredible. But I'll say this, they're not playing week 1 in Buffalo. They're not playing the first month. So they're special teams players now. So those guys are run to ball, get ball, see ball, get ball guys on special teams, have to hustle, and change that culture on special teams. That is how Zach Orr ended up getting a starting linebacker role, was by dominating on special teams. So I expect those 3 guys to have the opportunity to do so. I think that's why they'll stick around. And I would say Lowry, though, there's 4 safeties, man. He's the one where I'm looking at it and it's like, shit, Kane's not really a deep safety necessarily. He's not somebody that has a lot of experience in that role. And Lowry, I'll knock on wood for the boys in the back, Malachi and Kyle, but somebody's probably going to miss a game or 2 at least. And I see him getting on the field pretty quickly.
Yeah, it kind of feels like I wouldn't say they undervalue safety at all. They have 2 first-rounders back there, but it seems like they don't necessarily overvalue depth behind it because, it's, they gambled a little bit on Ardarius Washington being that guy, and they wound up developing him pretty well. And it feels like, obviously, if the injury doesn't happen to him, then he was going to be back here and be that person. But you got to remember, they almost let him walk too. So it's like, I don't know. There's kind of a track record there, which is a little bit interesting. But yeah, you make a good point about all these guys. They're not going to be playing right away. You don't want them to be necessarily. But I'd also bring up the Ravens have had some special teams hiccups the last couple of seasons. And that's not becoming of John Harbaugh, who arguably overinvests in this phase of the game. And you sign a Jake Hummel, and he's obviously going to be in the mix there as one of those guys. And yeah, you'd hope that he can help a Jay Higgins develop in that respect. And like you said, be that downhill, hair on fire type of guy. And obviously the 2 defensive backs probably would be more your gunners in that respect. So keep an eye out for them to do all of that. But hopefully they could develop into something defensively. I think I've been thinking about Higgins a little bit coming from Iowa, right? The directional punting capital of the world. I don't know how many snaps that guy played on defense in college, but it was probably a lot, more than your average linebacker. And you're playing in a Big Ten landscape now that's a lot different. The rich have gotten richer in college football with NIL. The competition is stiffer up top, playing against an Ohio State and a Penn State, in these types of offenses that are badass and shit kicking. And a lot of those guys are going to be in the NFL, whereas, the poor have gotten poorer. And it kind of makes you wonder about the overall college landscape, but I feel like he's a pretty high pedigree guy, and they're probably feeling pretty fortunate to have gotten him as an undrafted free agent.
Definitely, and he was at the Iowa program, which we know the Ravens love.
Yeah,
their boy Dirk over there for 5 years. I think he was at Iowa 5 years. So somebody that was there going through the drills. They produced some good defensive players. Those nice. And Zach Orr used the word, and he is someone who played football for a living, got a scholarship to play football, played football professionally, and then now coaches an NFL defense. He used the word instinctive. I hate the word instinctive because I think instinct is a result of preparation. But it's those kinds of guys. It's guys that see ball, go to ball, get ball. There's no fear, all courage. It's not out of control. That's what really spoke to me on tape. I clipped a couple plays. Whatever. It's fine. I can literally just summarize all 3 of them by saying, their eyes are up, they're alert, they're processing. They were alive to what was happening on the field. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a linebacker, I'm going to go turn and run to my spot that like it's Madden. Like that's what we see a lot of young linebackers, especially do, some of those young safeties. They're like, well, on paper, this is what I'm supposed to. No, they are looking, processing, their eyes are up, they're watching the play, they're seeing the concept play out, and they're jumping it. Freaking Keon Martin with that pick six that he had, like his eyes were up and he started moving his feet as the play showed itself, and then he attacked where the ball was going to go. That is instinct to me as a result of preparation. So would love to see any of those three gentlemen on defense. Just it's always a great story. It's fun. And again, I think it epitomizes what the Ravens look to do. Jake, you used the perfect word, as a meritocracy, that you are as good as the body of work. They have had the choir boys, the church boys, and we talked about Mike Green and them maybe doing some different things this year. But I think that's a great way of putting it. And they are showing you that the work that you put in the classroom and on the field and in the game will be respected above anything else. And I think that's cool. I think that's a good embodiment of what any sort of cultural norm should be. And I'm really pumped here. We got Numra, who says the boys are back. Spenny dad with the fresh cut. Bip, I don't know. Tell me what Bip is, Numra. Jake Unk with the fresh full length back tattoo. I see.
That's breaking news to me.
We appreciate you, Numra. And yeah, cut looks okay. I'm actually getting a trim up tomorrow here. But yeah, Garnet says be a hero on special teams. Like
Harbaugh's heroes, yeah.
Harbaugh's heroes. There you go. There you go. Mark says Jay Higgins' style is slow, is smooth, smooth is fast. Yes.
He's a
doesn't waste a lot of motion. Doesn't waste a lot of motion there. We've got a very special listener here, one Eric Arditi, the fucking boys. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate all of that, guys. But congratulations to those UDFAs. That's awesome. I think everybody's really excited about that. It's a great story. But next week, that's over with. That's done with. Nobody cares. It's time for the other players, the ones that you're going to rely on to set center stage. And really, Jake, I remember last year you mentioned the offensive line. I was very concerned as well about wide receiver depth beyond Bateman and Flowers, which
being very true.
Unfortunately, like we said last year, if you look at those two positions, if you look at Roquan Smith and let's say Trenton Simpson, let's say those are pencil. We'll put in pencil, not ink. Trenton Simpson's the starter. Neither of those two guys are not going to play 34 games. It is statistically very unlikely. Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, it is statistically very unlikely. Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, very statistically unlikely, right? You are only as good as your depth in ways. And I feel much better about the depth headed into this year than I do last year. I feel better about the offensive line, Jake. I know, like last year it was, hey, what the hell is happening on the entire right side of the offensive line? I'm not surprised to see, we'll get into it a little deeper next week, but I'm not surprised to see, Rosengarten, a second-year player. I'm not surprised if he struggles a little bit out of the gate and, life ain't easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl as the season starts, but they're returning 5 starters, more or less. Like Voorhees got hurt. He only started a couple games, but they're returning 5 starters. So I think it's a little bit. Numer says, Bip means haircut in Baltimore and Bipley Yip into Jidiang and Falatunga. I don't even know that one. You're more Baltimore than me.
Be careful with some of those.
Yeah, who knows? I've been watching The Wire. I don't know. I've been rewatching it for like the second time. But
you're like Michael. I've been watching The Wire. I don't understand a word of it.
I don't understand a word of it. I've been watching The Wire though. I'm on to that time of year. Then soon as Sopranos. Sopranos is when I'm like getting depressed in the fall, going into winter and everything.
You know that I had a big Sopranos weekend this past weekend. Shout out shout out to Jake.
Missed it on here, and we haven't been recording, but Jakey boy just turned 30, guys. Give him a little. He's welcome. This is you're officially not. This is the last birthday as a man that you're allowed to celebrate. And Jake had a nice Sopranos party down in OC, down the ocean. Looked like a great time.
I bring that up not to pat my own back, but that the person who threw that for me might actually be in the chat here and has told me to stop cursing. So, which I will not be heeding that warning. But thank you for the lovely birthday party, Sopranos themed, of course, which was great. And yeah, officially 30 now. And that's interesting that you say that because I feel like you're living testament to you can celebrate birthdays as a man for as long as you want.
I don't know what I've even done for my birthday. I can't even remember. I remember my 30th, but
you're a huge birthday guy.
I'm a huge birthday guy, yes. But as a man, you can only celebrate up until 30, and then it's over. You can never wear another man's name on your back. Eric is in the chat here.
Yeah,
and can't celebrate birthdays after that. 40 till 40. 40's cool.
Okay.
But it's like even then, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not that old. You got to play that one a little nonchalant.
40, I think you do like a big bachelor party type getaway. That's what I see these days.
Could be the move, certainly. But overall, like the pieces this year, looking at the roster, DeAndre Hopkins is exactly like, I love having Odell Beckham. I love having DeAndre Hopkins. I thought Deontay Johnson on paper, we knew he was a little bit of like a head case, but didn't realize he was fully like dysfunctional.
He clearly had problems. I think he's since owned up to that. I don't know if people have seen those comments, but he said, yeah, I kind of screwed that one up. And it's tough. He did not make the Browns when he signed with them. And obviously they go and sign.
He just got cut from wherever.
Yeah,
is that what it was?
Yeah. And they signed Isaiah Bond to, I guess, effectively replace him, which that whole situation is kind of wild. But don't worry. We got Christopher Maloney from SVU. He's out there at Browns practice. So all that's getting sorted out. But yeah, tough look for Deontay Johnson. And you can continue on with your point there.
Sure, but I feel better about their plan at linebacker now. Like I did expect Trenton Simpson to take a big step up, and that was foolish of me. Someone who famously did not play like a traditional linebacker role in college and was at Clemson there. We also just saw Isaiah Simmons get cut today for like the 5th time. Clemson hasn't exactly had a great history of that overhang position translating to, a nice defined role in a scheme in the NFL so far. So, the Ravens have all the confidence in Simpson, stuff like that. And just really coaching staff wise, right? I think that's a major key as well in terms of organization, especially when you do have some of these younger guys. Last year, they had such a brain drain after Mike McDonald left, took some folks with him after they had Denard Wilson leave and go to the Titans. Anthony Weaver leaves and go to the Dolphins, right? I mean, that exodus combined with that offensive line and rest in peace to Joe D'Alessandro, who was, recently anniversary of him passing, but those things snowballed and compounded into a messy start to the season. And they lose that Raiders game. They can't get it done against the Chiefs. They gave them a valiant effort. But like you said, Jake, those concerns that you had about the offensive line were valid and they were big, gross pimples to start the season. Like it was like, oh my God, like, nasty to watch at times. That Raiders game, they were just attacking Faalele, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, like switching back and forth like Ray Allen there, going back and forth, just attacking him. And it was ugly. It was ugly, right? And Mark Andrews last year was coming off of the car crash and kind of the broken leg as well. I think he had I might be hyperbolic here. I think he had 5 catches for 120 or 7 catches for 100 yards in the first couple games. He was not effective in the beginning of the season. So there was a lot of turnover, a lot of brain drain. They bring in Chuck Pagano. There's been kind of some whispers that Harbaugh and everyone wasn't really happy with a couple of coaches on the staff last year. So a lot of new faces. Tyler Santucci to coach the linebackers now, Chuck Pagano with the DBs, Zach Orr year 2. So Chuck Pagano with some pretty glowing comments about the secondary today. In his press availability, I believe he said in his 19 years of coaching, this is the most talented secondary. Pardon me, not the most, but classic coach speak. This is as talented of a group as I've ever had. If I think those were his exact words, perhaps. So on paper, I mean, there's no holes to me. I don't think there's any holes. And you can say what you want. You can get into the whole Faalele thing. Sure, but I think they're good at 4 of the other 5 positions, at least 3. And I think they have okay tackle depth. Vincent,
you're not gonna have a pearl at all 53 positions. You have to make some compromises, especially when you're in the post having paid your quarterback era. And it's something that I've bounced off of a little bit at times, but I think it's borne itself out to be pretty true, is that your quarterback, and especially now that running back that he's got next to him, he is effectively going to take away some of these issues. And, he's going to break down plays and he's going to draw attention. And I don't know, man, I'm as concerned about Faalele one-on-one in pass protection situations against an athletic rusher as anyone, but you've just got to find a way to scheme around that. I think I trust Monken in that respect too.
Yeah. And you mentioned Henry, the threat of Henry there. Faalele was completely serviceable by the end of last year. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. Everybody talked about that, like you said, throughout the entire preseason. I think that became such a hot button topic because he's the only projected starter who is not average above average. And I would argue that he's like a replacement level starter player. I would argue that he is the most average. And if you have one guy that's being looked at as like, he is not pedigree caliber perfect, not the end of the world. I mean, the Chiefs.
Also, he was a fourth round pick. Like, we're not talking about chopped liver here.
Yeah. He was a guy who went to IMG and, had a lot of offers, and there's some crazy stuff. Joe Thomas apparently gave a shout out to Warhop on the Browns podcast last week. Yeah, I saw that. Shout out to Judge Baltimore here. Yeah. But I think the fixation on Falele, as we're talking about this roster, is a reflection of the other 21 starters and how they are. Like you just said, he's not chopped liver, but almost like in comparison, I mean, it's like Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linder, like Voorhees is another one that you would say, like, he was injured and got drafted later, but he was a high pedigree guy before that injury when the Ravens drafted him. I mean, 2 good tight ends. The fucking fullback is an all-pro. The running back is a Hall of Famer. Your receivers on the outside are both good NFL receivers. And then you switch over to the defense and find the hole. I mean, the hole is probably the inside linebacker spot next to Roquan, and you've got 3 young guys fighting for one spot there. You have to think one of them is going to rise to the top. So I'm looking around the roster, and I don't really have those concerns that I had last year. We've mentioned the offensive line. We mentioned the depth at receiver. Tez Walker, Tylan Wallace. I'm not counting on those guys. I'm not expecting those guys to catch 60 balls, but I'm expecting them to be able to come in and perform for 3 to 6 weeks, due to injury.
Lester is going to be touching the ball more than those guys.
Probably. Lester looked great this preseason. He looks, for a guy that weighs so little, he doesn't look like that either. He looks, okay. He looks solid enough for what he weighed in at and all those things. So I just don't really see, like, injuries happen, as we've said many times throughout this episode and every other episode, but on paper, they haven't happened yet. And where's the hole? Like, that's what we say. We say so often. We're trying to refrain from cursing here quite as much, but who's my bitch? That's what, like, when you look at the Ravens, who's my bitch? If it's Falele, like, okay, there's one guy on your entire offense where you're like, okay, we can kind of game plan there. And like you said, Jake, the Ravens know that. They're aware. And there's some other guys in the wings there. So I think this roster is as thorough, like the breadth of depth, experience, and talent is, I think, undeniably like a top 3 roster. Like, take Lamar Jackson. We had this, Brian, shout out to Brian, who got married, not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Brian was like, I think Cooper Rush could probably win. He was like, how many games could Cooper Rush win? And this is not a knock to Lamar Jackson. I think there are several Ravens teams that win. You could, if you said 3 games, 2 games, sure. 2, 3, 4 games. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, you're crazy.
A little surprised that his record as a starter is like 7-3. And I shouldn't be that surprised. Like, he went on kind of that run there when Dak got hurt for the long term. And that goes to show, like, I know he looked pretty poor in the preseason. Like, I'm not going to excuse any of that and in practices and everything, but like, that doesn't really mean much. Like, the guy can win when there's talent around him, as
you got Derrick Hill in the backfield, got good tight ends, receivers, and your line's got a couple good start. Like, it's a nice situation. So I think, I don't know, like, I think a bad quarterback could do okay on this team. Like, I think you're looking at like more of a Pittsburgh Steelers type of team that we've seen over the last couple of years with some of the guys they've trotted out, like Kenny Pickens type teams where they can beat, any bad team and it's not an issue, and they just might not be able to play up to some of those elite level teams. But then you add Lamar Jackson back on top. So I think the Eagles, when we make this argument, this I think is the argument where people get pissed about, like Falele, for example. When you look back on their roster last year, all of their starters, I would say, were a pinch above average. Like, and that is rare as hell. And guess what? They did go win the Super Bowl. But I would say they've downgraded. I mean, their offensive line's beaten up from last year. They've got some major injuries. And I think they're a little weaker on paper than they were last year. Zach Bond ended up being an incredibly valuable player for them last year, and I don't think people saw that coming. But I think the Ravens have that type of roster, really, man. I mean, Malachi Starks, when you to compare the Ravens and Chad Howie Roseman of what he's done, Malachi Starks is that Kenyon Mitchell, is that Cooper DeJean, right? Like, that's why he took him, the pedigree guy that everybody thought should have been a top 15 pick. And suddenly the Ravens are sitting there in the 20s. That's what happened with Cooper DeJean. He slipped out of the first round. The Eagles went and got him. So I think the Ravens are, I think Eric DeCosta is like taking some advice from the man up 95 North a little bit and just being a little bit more of a Chad. Took Mike Green, said, screw it. Like the Eagles took Jalen Carter when he slid. They have taken those kinds of guys and felt that their locker room could make sure that anything that could potentially be an issue would be able to take care of it. So the one thing I'll say to kind of, I guess, maybe ruin our preview next week, we're going to do, we'll get more into the nuts and bolts though, as we always do. But like, I think there's 4 guys on this pass rush that could have 10 plus sacks. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but are you surprised if Matabike has 10 sacks? Hell no. He had a freaking borderline defensive player of the year type of year 2 years ago and a good year last year. That's not surprising. They paid him a shit ton of money and he's an impact player. Kyle Van Noy, Odafe Owe, guess what? They're both coming off of 10 sack seasons. Is it surprising if Mike Green gets 10 sacks? I don't think so. He led football in sacks last year. He dominated the Senior Bowl and has looked really good through preseason. Is it shocking if he has 10 sacks? I don't think so. I don't. And it's not like sacks have been short for the Ravens over the last couple of years, right? They've been towards the top 5, top 7, top 10 in the league in sacks every year. So the thing that has held them back is turning the football over on defense in the playoffs. And I think we have seen them. Garnett's right here with it. It's going to come, Garnett West in the comments. It's going to come down to getting turnovers and not making mistakes. We know who we are by now and how the season is going to play out, barring injuries.
Yeah, it's the meme, who's stopping this offense? And then it's like, the Ravens are stopping this offense. The Ravens are stopping the Ravens. Like that's what it is.
At Whiplash 4, it's simple. And again, I think this is the Chad about it. They know they haven't caused turnovers. Everyone, it's on NFL Live now. It's on Skip Bayless knows that the Ravens have only forced 2 or 3 turnovers in the last 8 playoff games or whatever defensively, whatever the stat is. And I can't remember if we were talking about it in the group text or maybe somewhere else or something, or maybe it was just on Twitter, but the best defensive performance, you could maybe say the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I would argue against that one. I could get into the weeds on it, but was when Tyler Huntley started against the Bengals. That was the best.
Is that the one turnover they had? Was Hamilton popping the ball out of Hurst's hands? Like
I think they might have had 2. I can't remember. I have to go check. But that game plan to me was a reflection of, Lamar's not here to save us. We need to be playmakers on defense. That we have no margin for error. What they did in that game with that mentality, Lamar can't save us, is how they need to approach the Bills week 1, the Chiefs week 4, and the postseason. So I don't think there's any secret. I don't think there's any other intention. Zach Orr has said it out loud. John Harbaugh has said it out loud. Chuck Pagano has said it out loud. Kyle Hamilton has said it out loud. Roquan Smith has said it out loud. Kyle Van Noy is always doing media availability. They know they need to take the ball away more in the playoffs. So this entire season, their only learning point is making plays defensively, making winning plays defensively. And I am happy with how they progress in regard. I mean, look at the Steelers games. The Ravens had such a shitty record against the Steelers. You know, obviously Lamar missed some games, whatever, but Steelers were turning them over and not turning the ball over. And the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey, pick 6. Like, they've started to creep up in that regard. They went from Wink Martindale, guns a-blazing, cover 0, all that shit, to Mike McDonald, who was a little bit more strategic. And then I think they have to reimagine that iteration a little bit more. Zach Orr has to find his own footing, but it's, at the end of the day, just turn the football over and play the way you do in the regular season offensively, like loose. And guess what? The end of the season ended last year with Lamar Jackson walking the Bills down the field with no Zay Flowers and no Rashad Bateman on a drive, scoring a touchdown and hitting Mark Andrews in the hands. Like, Lamar's played great in the playoffs. I don't care who you are. That Chiefs game got weird, sloppy. That's what they do. That's why they've been so good.
He was injured in the game too.
Yeah, he was, wasn't whatever. Didn't have a great game that game ultimately. I don't think he was terrible, whatever. It doesn't matter. But 3 of his last 4 playoff games, I think he's played really well. Has threw the pick to Isaiah Likely. He had a miscommunication with Bateman. He did have that sloppy fumble against the Bills, but it doesn't look like what people talked about it like. So Fub Peebles, like, they drafted that dude to go get pressure with 4, and he looks good in the postseason. Or excuse me, preseason, not postseason. Hopefully in the postseason. But
oh, don't worry, Uncle Fub's gonna be.
I just think that they left no stone unturned, and they had so much turnover last year. And I really do like, what does John Harbaugh do? That's a question that people have asked so much. And again, it's been a while since Johnny's Super Bowl, but you can't take that away from him. Johnny made sure that they like got their shit together when their offensive line was in peril. Their secondary was getting obliterated. Joe Burrow throws for 17,000 yards against them in 2 games. And then they became the NFL's top scoring defense in the second half. Did they play a murderer's row in the second half? No, I know. But the offensive line issues, Warhop, like the replacements, he has kept it moving. And I think he knows what it takes here. So it is a good spot that the Ravens are in. I don't have that feeling at all that I had last year. Jake, I know you, like we said, you were concerned. You were like, offensive line's not good enough. I think you're like, hey, 10, 11 wins, not good enough.
10 and 7, yeah, that's what
something like that. And I was like, hey, the receivers scare me. There's not enough depth there. And I think those two things, if you just look at even those, like
I think you went with 14-2. I remember I went with 10 and 7. You went with 14-2. So we split the difference there. And the funniest part of that was, like, you said 14-2, and I was like, wait, so you have them winning at Kansas City week 1? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then the next week we go to record the preview. You're like, oh yeah, I would have picked them to lose this one.
Yeah,
just immediate, like,
yeah.
We were right. So
again, all of this is cool. Once we get to that week 1 preview, it'll be a little different ball game. But what else do you think of? Anything else overall in the ethos, Jake, out in the world of the Ravens that you've been thinking of, curious about, pondering, or interested by overall?
Yeah, I think Mark Andrews is going to have a big season. I think people kind of forget. Obviously, you mentioned the injury last year that slowed him down big time. I think he's motivated to get himself one last big payday here. He's, had a really rough offseason with some of the shit and hate that was just hurled his way. I think, people were pissed off, understandably, but I think the reaction is something like that. It's always going to get just completely spiral out of control. And I think at this point, you just have to log off and like not deal with it. But like, if you're one of those people that were sending that like kind of stuff to him, like just think about your own life for a minute and like what's going on in your life and why you're that person. But I mean, beyond all of that, like he's coming back healthy, big opportunity here with likely going to be out the first couple of weeks, it looks like. And I don't know, man, he's just always been quietly, for all this talk about the number 1 receiver. Lamar doesn't have the X, this, that, it's always been Mark Andrews. He's always been that guy. And I don't know, man, I don't necessarily see him having a big time, long-term future with this team. I think it might be an aid of getting a payday elsewhere with maybe some young quarterback like a Drake May or something like that. But
you look at Zach Ertz.
Yeah. Right. Like it's all right there in front of him. And I think he's going to be healthy and he's got the chops to go out there and put up some big numbers. And I think Lamar is going to want to help him do that too. So.
Gardner here in the comments says wet gloves excuse was a bitch move, all that stuff. But like,
I don't know. Like, no,
but the thing about it is like, what are you going to say that's right in that moment? Like, what does he need to say? Like the Tim Tebow, like, I swear to God, this will be the last win, the last time we disappoint.
Right. Like, yeah, it sucks. Sure. I know he dropped it.
And a couple white boys here who like Mark Andrews, shocker. But I look at that, like, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I look at Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers couldn't play against the Bills. Zay Flowers wants a big fat contract. He sees Terry McLaurin getting 3 years, $96 million. He sees DK Metcalf. He sees all these receivers. I mean, Khalil Shakir, who goes in the 10th round of my fantasy draft. I don't know why I draft him every single time. He's literally the Bills' number 1 receiver, but he's getting paid pretty solid to be, an unheralded receiver up in Buffalo. So I think Zay Flowers has a mega chip on his shoulder. I think Bateman, even though he's kind of gotten paid, I think Bateman even looks at that too and says, why am I not a $30 million receiver? I was a first-round pick, all that shit. Derrick Henry, I think, lives with a chip on his shoulder. So I think these guys are chomping at the bit, man. I mean, Isaiah Likely's playing for a contract. That foot really sucks. But I think all these guys have something they're hungry for. And, Lamar Jackson stays hungry, all of it. So Ronnie Stanley's redemption arc. Tyler Linderbaum wants a contract. Rosengarten, year 2 as a tackle. I mean, going into next year, he can start to talk about an extension as a player's not a first-round pick. Shit. Suddenly he can have a $60 million contract. Who knows, man? So I think you look around this offense, it's a lot of guys who have something to play for, and a lot of them need contracts. Mark Andrews probably wants another payday, whether it's here or elsewhere. So I like that. Hungry dogs run faster. That's my fantasy football advice. Always draft the guy in the contract year over the guy who's already gotten paid. I like that a lot. So this offense, I think, has hashtag some to prove. And they still haven't broken through in the playoffs. Like the Texans, they had that second half, but at the end of the day, that was a home game against a wild card team. I know when Josh Allen goes and posts fucking 6 touchdowns against the Bills, everybody acts like it's the second coming of Jesus Christ. But they haven't put up 50 points in a playoff game. They could put up 50 points in a playoff game, and I don't think they're going to play in a wild card game this year. I would give it a pretty solid shot, but a lot of stuff to prove on offense, and I think they have brought in DeAndre Hopkins as someone at the end of the day who just played in a Super Bowl, has seen the highs, has seen the lows, all of this stuff. And that's what I like. Like, I like that he is there. I like that they have Charlie Kohler. I like that they have Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell behind Derrick Henry. Like, the depth is insane. I don't know, man. I'm just excited. And you said you think Mark Andrews has a big year. You can get his touchdown line is a joke to me, likely a little hurt. Like, Mark Andrews still had 9 touchdowns last year. So if you want a little future, go take Mark Andrews touchdowns. I think that Rashad Bateman 525.5 yards are both a joke. But Jake, I was talking about this with some colleagues earlier, and we obviously just saw Terry McLaurin. I wanted to talk about this. This ties into several things that we really like over the years. I want to open up a little more general conversation. Terry McLaurin signs today. I believe it was 3-year, $96 million extension, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I think it brings his AAV over the next 4 years to $30 million a year. That was Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's from a military family. Terry McLaurin is known as the least wide receiver personality of the wide receiver personalities. Micah Parsons, that saga that's going on, still ongoing out in Jerry World. We love Jerry World. Trey Hendrickson, a couple things. Jake, I was laughing today because when I'm doing these fantasy drafts too, and this is what I was talking about. We're talking about the contracts that guys are getting. Like DK Metcalf is getting $34 million a year. And you know how much I love DK Metcalf, but at the end of the day, what is he? Maybe the 50th best player in the NFL. He probably has the 16th biggest contract, 20th biggest contract. It's insane. Jake, you always talk about the wide receiver bubble, things like that. I think that has gotten out of hand in ways. Obviously, the Ravens haven't really participated in that, but other thing we talk about a lot is the Cowboys. I would highly recommend watching America's Team, the Netflix documentary. It's 8 episodes, and I was actually scintillated by all 8 episodes, but it brought me back to Emmitt Smith's contract debacle, where Emmitt Smith wanted a new deal after the Cowboys had won a Super Bowl. He sits out 2 weeks into the season, and Troy Aikman and Jimmy Johnson are like, what the fuck? They were 0-2, I think, after winning the Super Bowl. They're like, what the fuck are we doing? We have the best running back in the world in the 90s when running backs were king, and we're losing games because we can't run the ball. What are we doing here? Jerry Jones talked about this negotiation. It's a negotiation. And it's like, he doesn't even care. He just wants to participate in the negotiation in the billionaires world and all of these things. And that was really the first like holdout that went into what today has kind of become the norm. And I just think this whole era of trade requests and the song and dance of bullshit. Okay, you want a new contract? Request a trade. You're holding in. And it's gotten so tired and ridiculous, and this circle of madness.
It's become its own language that we, like, the average layman NFL fan knows how to parse through, like, beyond, like, it's so easy at this point. Like, you're so right about that. You can continue, but I just, like, we were talking about this recently, just how tiresome it's become, that, like, it's so obvious that these are all just veiled negotiations. We saw it with Trey Hendrickson, saw it with Terry McLaurin. It's going to happen with Micah Parsons, but continue.
I think they'll pay him next week, but what are we doing in the year 2025? Everyone requests a trade. Everybody issues a statement. Oh, I removed all of my team stuff from my Instagram. Like,
imagine the poor PR person on the PR team that's got to, like, go through and do all that shit just, like, for no reason. Like,
what is this, like, high school Snapchat? This is, to me, it's just mind-boggling that, like, I understand it first, like, oh, and even Lamar Jackson a couple years ago, like, I can't remember if he took down team stuff or not. I can't recall. Maybe he did, but sure. But even that, like, that was, oh shit. But now it's like every single guy takes down their team stuff as soon as there's any sort of extended, like, It's just like, is that the play that that CAA, this monster agency, is coming up with? Is that what Ari? I guess it is, because like the episode of Entourage where Ari is no different from the rest of the agencies, right? Where Vincent Chase, Mac, Mercedes, that episode.
I like how it's like McDonald's too, and they have this like really low res image of like the McDonald's logo. It's like we probably could have done a little bit better, like, you know, with the budget on that. But
I think that's kind of my point. Like, hey, CAA, hey, David Mogetta, like, can we do better with our tactics now? Like, is removing the Twitter banner of the Washington Commanders really like a tactful, strategic play at this point? Like, it is out of this world. And I'm not knocking the players. They have agents other than one Lamar Jackson, but like, I'm not them knocking him, but what the fuck are you guys doing?
It just feels
what is this culture of extensions
in a league that has completely mastered the art of like turning the banal and like the things that should just be very rote business-like things into very entertaining products, like right down to the NFL draft, which is just completely exploded in spectacle. Like, this was something that actually did used to be entertaining 20 years ago. You think about T.O. doing sit-ups in his driveway, and like it used to be like there were different shots across the bow, and when is this guy going to sign? This guy's holding out. This is all just a formula now. Guys hold out, or they hold in even, and you remove the stuff from the Twitter or whatever, and you request a trade, and then, oh, Trey Hendricks is going down to Florida. What's going to happen? We all know. Like, we all know what's going to happen. And dude, you know what? I forgot to bring up Brandon Ayuk. The endless summer of Brandon Ayuk last year. And what happens? He resigns. I'm thankful he resigned and got paid, and then he gets hurt, and we just don't talk about him again for a year. It's all like
he's on the pup to start this year.
Yeah, and it's like the over commercialization of the NFL, which has done them a lot of good. Like, I totally agree with that. I think this is like sort of we're seeing maybe the late stage effects of some of that, where it's just like, man, we just really don't need some of this shit.
Joe DeMartin says, because every step in the process is another tweet from Schefter and Ian and Pelissero. It's an economy in itself.
Exactly. They're just playing the little marionettes against each other. And we all know that, though. Like, we're all smart enough to get that. And like, it's not
the average consumer of the content is aware of what's happening at this point.
The NFL is pretty good at like having the customer, you know, the fan in mind first all the time. And this is one of these ones where it's just turning into like, all right, we get it. Like, can we just get on with it, or, you know, actually have something interesting to say for once?
Exactly. So media and agent collaboration. And honestly, I think that like the Lamar Jackson contract situation in hindsight was fucking insane. And it was quieter than like Micah Parsons is. So probably because Lamar didn't have an agent that was playing into Ian and all of those. Deuce 1042 Revis holdout was a cool storyline. That was
a great Hard Knocks 2010, I think it was.
We have great comments tonight. We have amazing comments. Mark says, in the quarterbacks and receiver series, the next series should be agent. Great idea. That would be a good show, like selling Sunset, but it's like selling wide receivers.
Yeah, I like it.
That would be amazing. Speaking of great comments, again, best of Baltimore 2025. I tweeted about this, but like, Jake, you and I started this, obviously joined Exit 52 and what Eric and Taylor and Brian have done over the years, but really, really, really was a cool moment, and wanted to give a big shout out to everyone who voted for us in Best of Baltimore Magazine's Best Local Podcast category. I think I had a realization. I have never I didn't win a single sports championship like ever growing up. I don't think any of my rec teams ever won. I got second place in the geography bee in middle school 3 times to 3 different people. I think I'm a loser, actually. High school, my football teams were probably in total between 4 years, like 10 to 12 games under 500. Never won a playoff game in football, anything like that. None of my youth football teams ever won anything. My fraternity, whatever, if you want to count that, like, sure, we won some stuff on campus, whatever. But like, this is the first thing I think I've ever like really won. So that was really cool and very fulfilling. And Jake, you and I started this journey 7 years ago, going on year 7 now together. Year 3 with Exit 52. This is our 3rd. Yeah.
3rd or 4th? Because it was 20. Okay, 20.
I want to say I think this is our 3rd season. 3rd football season, Exit 52.
You might be right. Unless I'm trying to remember. Did we I feel like we started in 2022. Am I wrong on that?
I think you are. I think it was 2023.
So, okay.
I think this is our third. We'll circle back. I digress, but has been really Kelly McCoy says the total gym stuff was weird.
Well, that's what made that one actually like kind of unique and interesting. And I just
that was interesting. Who's Ken Francis?
I hated it too much in the moment to like actually really appreciate it. But looking back on it now, I can really laugh and say, wow, that was like the one unique one of these we got in 20 years.
It really was. But yeah, so appreciate you guys so much. It was really cool to get that honor and recognition and giving us an outlet to be creative and get out of the mundane. Like Jake, I know that's why you and I love this. We get to like let our youthful love for sports prevail and our personality show, and it's cathartic and it's therapeutic, and we get to engage with all you guys and just simply talk sports, like doing these live streams where you guys have all these comments and so many of these faces, so many of these Deuce 1042, Joe DeMartin, Garnett, freaking Devon Johnson and his wife. I mean, you guys are always here. All these people in the chat, Matt Mitz, all these people always here. It's awesome.
Several years now.
We do. So we love you guys. I was going to decide myself. I'm going to post on Twitter, though. As an award-winning podcast now, I think that award is not our award. Like, obviously, I'm just copying what Pardon My Take does, but I think it's a cool concept.
Award, we could just call them award-winning listeners, couldn't we?
You guys are technically award-winning listeners. We don't want Big Cat, and I don't want Max screaming at me in the middle of the night, though, or something, like showing up at my door. So
Max, really, really nice guy. I don't think he'd yell at you, Eric.
That's what you guys said, but don't want to just steal that. So we came up with some ideas. I think I settled on 2 ultimately. I know that you and Eric kind of like these ones a little bit. I'm going to post a poll on Twitter, but we are going to do a merch drop at cost, and wanted to make sure you guys could rep the award that you guys won, the best local podcast in Baltimore. So we're between 2 things, the 52 percenters. And with that, better than most is a little bit of that. Hey, we did get 52% of the vote for best local podcast as well. I don't know if that was made up or not, but I'm going to say it's not, just at least for the fable of it. I don't know if it was a joke when I was told that, but so the 52 percenters, better than most, or the charmers. You guys, oh yeah, he's a real charmer, babe. Oh, hon, that's a real charmer right there. So going to drop some merch. Want to do it at cost. You guys can rep it. We're going to give out 52 stickers as well. And I'll post some more information about that. I'll mail them. You're going to get a little envelope, a little handwritten note from me, maybe Jake and some of the boys too, something like that. But wanted to send out some stickers, 52 stickers. So you guys can rep Exit 52. Again, was really cool. Jake, I love you. We've had so much fun doing this, and this has been something that I'm really happy with, because it points, Jake, like this, I would say like years 3, 4, maybe, like at points, this kind of felt like a chore at times, I would say. And I think you and I and the rest of the fellas, Brian, Eric, and Taylor, have done such a nice job for ourselves of not making it that way. And I think the number one reason it's not that way is simply because of the listeners and the people we get to talk about sports with and have fun conversations with.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way of framing it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was thinking the other day about that interview, that sit down that Joe Flacco did with Aditi Kinkwabala, I think it was, where she was like, effectively like, hey, like, why are you still doing this? You know, you're 40 years old. You've got like 85 kids at home. You know, you've got a lot going on. Like, why are you still a quarterback? He's like, because I just love doing it, and it's just what I do. And I think about it sometimes when I'm just like, oh, I don't really feel like recording. Like, the Orioles suck right now. Like this, that, and the other. Like, I've got a million things. Like, it effectively is like, you know, it's a podcast, right? You're just sitting down and talking into a mic for an hour, but there is more that goes into it. Like, you might be surprised that it is actually like a full weeknight's worth of your time sometimes. And I don't know, but like, even having said all of that, like, I don't have that much else going on. Like, it's fine. You know, it's like, this is what I do. This is what I love to do. And in particular, I love to do it because I love you and I love the other guys and I love our listeners, and you guys make it worth it. So thank you for all the support over the years and all the continued support. And I believe it's going to be a great season, regardless of what happens, because of all of that.
Well said, my friend. Love you too, brother. And with that, go check out, I'm going to post it on the Exit 52 Twitter, because that's fair. Let everybody mouth off their own position. But again, if there's other ideas, sure, we can float that way. But we're going to send out 52 free sets of stickers with some new merch drops we're going to have. Again, appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone who subscribed on YouTube. We had 3,000 subscribers last year. I said to Jake and Brian and Eric and Taylor, my goal is 5,000 for this year on YouTube. Easiest way to support us, simply subscribe on YouTube. And if you can, use the YouTube mobile app. If you like the background playing, so you can use your phone, stuff like that. Check that out if you're only doing it on Safari Chrome, something like that. But easiest way to support us. I know this is live on IG, live on Twitter as well. If you want to watch there, that's cool too. But just appreciate you guys, all the people that have come up to us at tailgates, games, bars, at the Centerfield Bar in Camden or in the freaking Lot H at a Ravens game. Like, love you guys. Love talking football. DMs are always open. If anyone's ever going through a hard time, always DM us. I've gone through hard times. Jake, I know you have too. We've talked about those things on here, but please always reach out. We've got your back. You guys clearly have ours. Voting us for that was really cool. Gives me goosebumps. Is, like I said, I guess I'm a loser, but not anymore because of you guys. First thing I've ever really won, I feel like. So it was a great honor. Something that kind of just like happened. I don't know. I didn't even realize my buddy Tyler, who owns Morning Mugs, a coffee shop, called me and was like, "Hey, I just found out that I won best coffee shop." And I asked just like who won best podcast. And he said it was you guys. And I was like, oh shit. I didn't like last year. I kind of was like texting people to vote and stuff. This year it just kind of happened, which I thought was even cooler. But
who did we lose to? Shower Thoughts last year?
We lost to like intern John.
Shower Thoughts.
Yeah, something like that. So I don't know. We're refreshed. I feel good. I feel good about this team. I feel good about this podcast. I feel good about everything going on. And I appreciate you, Jake. I appreciate Eric. I appreciate Brian. I appreciate Taylor. And I freaking love the people that come talk football, hang out with us, and make this a thing that is fun and joyful and all of those great things.
Yeah, no, it's been a long, busy summer. It's been a year just of total shitty weather. And I was like sitting in my room today with the window cracked and it was like 75 degrees. And I realized that like all my social obligations are fulfilled. I don't have to travel for work until like December. I'm ready to just like sit for like 4 weeks in a row and just watch football on the weekends and just do
nothing. It's going to be amazing, that first red zone, which might be our last real red zone because
Pat McAfee's going to get in there and we're, jumping around and being zany, really excited about all that good stuff. ESPN.
Yeah. Excited for that. But this might be our last purebred, unadulterated Scott Hansen experience. So soak it in, ride that big parlay, do the fantasy draft. Anthony Bourdain says, eat the oyster, have a cold pint in a dark bar. I'm going to say, have the chicken wings. Don't go outside for 12 hours, sweat, order DoorDash, call out of work the next day. That'll be my Anthony Bourdain soapbox.
Yeah, be Anthony Bourdain when he was working at the Lobster Shanty in like chapter 3 of his book Kitchen Confidential. Don't be Anthony Bourdain later on when he's a little bit more fancy boy. If you want to get that reference, read that book. It's very good.
Love it. So enjoy it. We enjoy you guys. I enjoy you, Jake. I enjoy all the boys here. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. But we're fired up. Episode 59 of the Jumbo Set, which I kind of messed up at the very beginning of the episode, but we're not going to talk about that again.
You were all flustered out of the gate.
I was just like, of course I fucked the first one up. I haven't been on here in a couple months. It's like, of course I pressed the wrong one. But so we're excited. Hope you guys are excited too. Definitely go check out Cole, our boy, with Jeff and Bobby, our other boy, Bobby B, and Jeff. Go check out Ravens Collective, I believe it's called. Go check that out. Get some cool perspectives from Jeff, who's obviously been covering the team so long. That's really cool, and we're glad that they're doing that to have another great little trio there to bring you guys some good Ravens coverage.
Cole getting a little loose with the lips on Twitter there, it would appear.
Right now?
Yeah, might have been. Well, recently, like the last 30 minutes. Might have been tweeting some stuff about potential, you want to talk about contract negotiations.
Yeah, he tweeted, considering buying a Kyle Hamilton jersey, I'd say it's a wise investment. Fine, Cole. If you're listening still, we'll rat you out a little bit. Cole, DM me and Jake at 2:39 p.m. Not going to tweet it, but Kyle Hamilton extension sounds like it's getting close. I can't get anyone to bite. I can't tell if it's legit. But
yeah, we don't. To be clear, we're not going to rat him out. We don't know who his sources are, but there you go. Just take that info for what it is.
There we go. So with that in mind, appreciate you guys. We will be doing our full 256 game prediction. I've got a couple fucking takes already in the chamber. I've tweeted a couple mini micro-sized ones, but we'll have that.
I can't wait until we get an 0-16 and then playoff bound team again.
My last 2 years, I've gotten Giants. I took to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and I think they went 6-11. And then I said Broncos wouldn't win a single game, and they were a very spunky upstart, rookie-led quarterback team.
You know what, man? You believed in something.
I prayed on Sean Payton's downfall. That's what that was.
You know what?
That's what I fucking get.
Everyone should pray on a bully's downfall, and Sean Payton is a bully, so I'm with you.
I prayed on his downfall, and oh my god, he spit in my face, smacked me on the ass, and kicked me in the ribs. So
I feel like this might be the year, honestly. Like everyone's a little too comfortable on Bo Nix right now. I think Sean Payton's kind of riding a little high on his saddle there, reading his own
Rocky Mountain High.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That could be trouble.
That division's got some teeth.
And everyone's picking the Broncos as their the dark horse. No one's going to see them coming, like to the point where they're going to be a little overvalued in the markets. If I had to guess, we'll see how that all works out.
Oh boy, I'm pumped for that episode. So we'll have that one maybe this week, maybe next week. We'll figure it out. But we'll be back in the full swing, giving you guys Jumbo Set on Tuesday, previews typically on Thursday, and then we usually go live. Hopefully, have some fun go live things in the works for this season. But if you're out and about, if you're ever out in Baltimore, if you ever need to know where to go, what to do, any of that stuff, we're always here to help. We're always in the DMs for anybody. So Jake, I'm excited. Episode 1 and guessing, I guess we have about 20 of these to go. Hopefully 21 of these to go or so would be pretty cool.
Very exciting. Very exciting stuff indeed. Thank you all for hanging here with us as we fire this thing back up for season 3 or 4. Who even knows of this iteration. We appreciate you very much. Like Spenny said throughout all that recent segment. Subscribe to us here on YouTube to help us out. If you can, follow us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find Spenny on Twitter at Ravens4Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle there. I am at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Brian, hoping to get him in the mix on some Ravens content here now that he's got a little bit more of a free schedule as a married man at Barstool Banks. Taylor, some negotiations were made with him at the wedding as well at Taylor Smythe 10. Going to be talking all sorts of broadcast content with him. Eric at EDITTI22. I'm at Jake Louque. That's Louque. And we will talk to you guys again very, 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 very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about. Yes, sir. Trust.
He's pretty big trust.
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir. Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.